Picture this. You stroll into a bookstore on a lazy afternoon, the air rich with the scent of paper and ink, and you pluck a random book from the shelf, something you've never touched before. You crack it open, expecting the neat typeface of a stranger's words, but instead your breath catches in your throat. The margins, the underlines, the notes scrawled in pen, they're yours. Your handwriting, curling and sharp in the exact way your hand moves, but commenting on passages you haven't yet read. At first you think it's some bizarre coincidence, maybe a printing mistake or a prank too elaborate to make sense. But then you try again, grabbing another book and another, and every single one has your notes running through it. Imagine the chill of recognition, the intimate realization that somehow, every book in existence already carries a conversation between you and itself, as if the universe had been waiting for you to open it. The first reaction would be disbelief. People would line up in libraries, testing this strange phenomenon, gasping as they flip through Shakespeare cookbooks or textbooks on quantum physics, only to see their own familiar scrawl filling the blank spaces. Soon the world would erupt in confusion and wonder, because it wouldn't just be your handwriting in your books. It would be everyone's handwriting in theirs. 1,000 million readers opening the same novel and each finding unique notes only they could have written. And what would those notes say? Some might be helpful, guiding the reader to key insights, almost like future you had already digested the story and left a breadcrumb trail. Others would be deeply personal, connecting obscure lines in the book to memories from your own life, moments no one else could possibly know. Suddenly, books wouldn't just be repositories of collective human knowledge. They'd become mirrors, reflecting your own mind back at you through ink that shouldn't exist. Scientists would lose themselves in the puzzle. Psychologists might suggest the handwriting is a projection of the subconscious, that your brain is somehow mapping its inner dialogue onto the page in real time, creating annotations the moment your eyes fall upon the words. Physicists might stretch into wild theories about time loops and information feedback, proposing that books are now quantum entangled with your consciousness, feeding you not just words but echoes of thoughts you haven't yet had. Religious leaders would call it revelation, that the divine had chosen books as the medium for whispering directly into our private minds, dressing prophecy in the comfort of our own handwriting. And conspiracy theorists, of course, would whisper that the books were reading you, scanning the folds of your thoughts and stitching them back into the pages as ink so that you couldn't distinguish whether you were the reader or the one being read. The social impact would be staggering. Classrooms would no longer have one shared textbook. Each student would see their own guidance scribbled in the margins, reshaping the act of learning into a personalized journey. Lovers might open the same novel and discover completely different conversations unfolding in its margins. One finding declarations of doubt, the other finding whispers of reassurance. Historians and biographers would no longer argue over interpretations. Every copy of an ancient manuscript would carry entirely unique marginalia, blurring the line between fact and personal narrative. Booksellers would turn into something like fortune tellers, their shelves full of volumes that promise not just stories, but reflections of your inner world waiting to be uncovered. But with wonder would come terror. Imagine opening a thriller and finding your handwriting predicting the next twist before you turn the page, as though your notes already know where the story is going. Or worse, a horror novel where your scrawl begins to spiral into phrases you don't remember writing, words that don't sound like your voice at all. The eerie possibility would emerge that not all the notes were really yours. Some would begin to whisper that the handwriting was a channel, a doorway for something else to speak through you, hiding inside the curve of your letters. People might burn books, terrified of what they might reveal. Others would hoard them, convinced that inside the notes lay secret instructions, glimpses of futures, or confessions their waking selves could never admit. An entirely new culture would be born around the act of reading. Book clubs would become seances, gatherings where people compare what their handwriting revealed in the same chapter, marveling at how differently their margins unfold. Courts might call upon books as evidence, demanding someone open a law book and prove what their handwriting says about justice. Governments would fear the uncontrollable spread of ideas and ban certain texts altogether, knowing that no censorship could ever silence the conversation each person would have with the page. Writers themselves would be humbled, realizing that no matter how carefully they crafted a sentence, the true story would always belong to the private dialogue scribbled by the reader's unseen hand. And then there would come a day when you open a book and pause, your heart thudding because the handwriting inside takes a turn you've never taken, curves and strokes just slightly unlike your own. The words spill forward, warning you of things not yet happened, or guiding you to choices you didn't know you would face. You'd stare at the page, recognizing it as yours but not yours, like a twin hand moving 1 second ahead of your own. And in that moment, the question wouldn't just be how the handwriting got there, but who or what has been reading you all along, and whether the books were always the ones holding you open, waiting for the day you'd finally notice.